Hello, everybody. I'm Polly, and I once again have a wonderful guest. I'm super excited because this particular person, our paths have not crossed in person. Well, I guess that is how it is with a lot of my guests, that our paths have not crossed in person. But years ago, I had a friend who was diagnosed with cancer, and I was at Miraval, and I bought a CD by this person, and because he's an amazing healer, and so that's kind of how I learned about him, and that was a long time ago. But I'll share more of what he does. But first, I want to introduce Tony Redhouse. How are you, Tony?
Doing fine, Polly. Thank you for having me.
Tony is Native American, sound healer, spiritual teacher. But I mean, I'm going to say you're an artist also, because you do. I mean, you create, you heal, you teach, you welcome other people into the healing circle and into the healing energy. But in your own words, how would you describe what you do? But you do a lot.
Well, once you find the gift, you find the gift inside of you, then you can manifest that gift in any kind of way that you want to, any way that you want to express it, whether it's music, art, whether it's words, whether it's, physical movement, anything that you do, that gift will come out. So once you find the gift inside, and mine happens to be a spiritual gift from my ancestors, and they're behind me, they're backing me up and everything that I do, but it is actually, I've been created and molded by the gifts, the spiritual gifts, and the resilience and the strength and the endurance of the Navajo people on my dad's side. And really, it is manifested through whatever I touch. Mm-hmm. I'm an artist, visual artist, a recording artist. I'm a keynote speaker, inspirational speaker. I work with drug addiction programs, alcoholism programs, oncology society, cancer survivors, and I share these gifts of teaching art, teaching, making dream catchers with your hand, picking up a drum and being able to use it, and uniting those heartbeats together. That's part of my musical gift and my rhythm. So it's multifaceted. I'm also a double Gemini too.
Okay, so that makes me laugh, but we'll talk about that later on, but it makes me laugh. Okay, so do you feel like, and some, a lot of these questions that I ask is just because I think it's fun and I want to know for myself, but I know other people want to know. So do you feel like your spirituality, your beliefs, are they based just in like the Navajo tradition, or do you find that you kind of gathered as you move through life, and so there's like pieces from this place and that place, and that's creating how you move through life?
I think that you come into this world and you have a certain orientation, and mine happened to be, my dad, in the house, and he would be, he would be singing these songs from his culture, Hey, hey, young, hey, hey, young, oh, hey, 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 ya, hey, ya, hey, hey, young. So we were constantly hearing that, and it became, a lifestyle. His teachings, how to, his perspective on life, being connected to nature, and then also my mom is Filipino, and so she raised us in a Catholic way. Mm. In that sense, I got used to that type of ritual, and which was also very helpful because it created a sense of order and a sense of timing, and then when I combined all of these things together, and been exposed to other cultures and other beliefs and other music, and of course with other music there's other spiritual beliefs. I mean, with I'm also an Afro-Cuban conga drummer, so there are many traditions that are associated with that, with orishas and their deities and different things that are related to the drum. And with Native Navajo tradition, there's also the Ye Bache, you know, the Yeas, which are our deities too. So I think it was kind of a mixture, a fusion of different thoughts, but definitely it was my main orientation was my ancestors, and really honoring them, you know, first.
Nice, I like that.
And then saying, hey, can I? And then asking permission. Hey, can I incorporate these other thoughts and mix them with the simple teachings of Navajo tradition? Do I have permission to do this? And so when I started to incorporate other things, I always had in the back of my mind, you know, that those songs and those thoughts that my dad was incorporating with us.
Well, I think it's really, I actually think this is a really important thing to bring up, because I think sometimes people believe that they have to just be like, you know, they're just a Buddhist, or they're just a Catholic, or they're just a whatever. But, you know, really, you can pull, I mean, look, all the experiences we have in life, we can pull from so many different areas and so many spiritual beliefs. And if you trust your heart, if you trust what feels right to you, it might not fit under one roof, right? It might not fit under one umbrella. And so I love the idea that, you know, how you're sharing that you have explored a lot. You honor the Navajo because that's what you feel the I'll say the truest, or the most, you know, or you use the word oriented to. But you pull from a lot of different areas, and it's all that same loving energy, right? It's all that same, it's love.
Yeah. And it is learning to follow your heart, your intuition, because you want to incorporate something, you want to bring something in, just like with a relationship, that is compatible with you, that feels like, hey, this feels like home, this feels like me, this feels like what I would have been raised with. This is something that will really fit very nicely. And so it's really good to find our core, our roots, our center first. And so, you know, when we look at life as a circle, and we see ourselves as an individual circle of life, it's always, you know, staying in the center of that circle. And we have a life journey that's just going to go around. Okay. You keep going around and around, and, you know, it's not going to be stagnant, but we want to be able to flow peacefully, effortlessly, you know, just like yoga, right? And we want to be able to flow effortlessly around that circle of life, and really be able to keep true to our center.
Yeah.
When we begin to unite with other circles of life and other beliefs and other people and other situations and other teachings, then we begin to create something that is larger. We don't even have to try, because it's something that feels so natural to us, that when our circle of life connects, just like when you have your retreat and you bring these women there, and each of them are going to connect with each other in their desire to become more whole and more clear in their lives, and to find that beautiful harmony together. Then what happens is, when we connect with other circles of life from a place of balance, then we end up creating a community. Okay?
That's beautiful.
Naturally, we just become a community.
Yeah.
Supportive, which is give and take, which is balancing each other out, which is stronger than just our individual circle. Okay? And more complete. So this is what we want, is we want to be able to connect with other circles, other beliefs, other culture, other music, other thoughts. And so when we understand that everything is there and available to us, as far as when I talk about completion, I talk about resolution, I talk about, you know, wholeness, holistic, all of these things that we seek, you know, methods that we try to find health and balance. You know, when we realize that all of these things are available to us, if we are going to be using them in a respectful way, in a way that is going to benefit others, then we have everything in the air. In other words, if I was walking, and I was raised in California, in the Bay Area, and I was walking through Watsonville, which was the, you know, apple capital, you know, apples, you know, apple orchards. You walk and you're really hungry, you know, and you really want something to eat, and you need something, and you just walk through that apple orchard, and you go and you eat that apple. And that's the way life is. If we understand and if we are resonating with all of belief systems, every invention, every composition, every thought, every culture, if we realize that that is the apple orchard, okay? Mm-hmm. Whenever we need something, we can ask these ancestors and these other cultures, and everything is in the air. We just simply, for each moment that we need it. It's not rocket science. Okay, so just like I showed you with the circles of life connecting together, that's the way we are as human beings. And when we find that center ourselves in our own individual circle, then we naturally interconnect with other circles of life.
It's really, we'll talk about energy because you said trust your intuition, and it really is trusting your intuition, because if something doesn't feel right, you know to keep walking, right? And to honor that. But then the next piece is to honor who we are and honor how we fit and who we attract. I mean, to trust ourselves that not only will we attract what we need, but be open to it and be open to not trying to control it. Open to, I know I'm attracting what I need, but I'm not dictating it has to look like this and be like this and sound like this, right? It's open to what I need. I'm open to receiving and being, that comes from that place of not being judgmental, right? Because you're receiving, you're allowing, and you're open and trusting that what you need is there.
Yes. Becoming like a child.
Yeah.
Can come back to that home for our soul, that refuge, that safety, mm-hmm. that knowing that we are loved, that we are cherished just the way we are.
Yes.
Unconditionally. When we can find that place, that's the center. Okay. When we can find that place inside, and we can find that home for our soul, then we can become transparent.
Yes.
We can open our heart. We are open to all other aspects of life, people, relationships, experiences. We are open, not living life like this.
Absolutely.
The wall protecting our hearts because we've been hurt, which we do. We get hurt. Our hearts get broken, and we go through life. We've been disenchanted, disillusioned, and so we go through life holding our heart, but we can never soar like an eagle if we're with our wings like this. Okay, we truly want to soar like an eagle. We have to take that one step of going, okay, I'm going to open my heart. Then your wings automatically spread. So as an eagle, we want to have that freedom. We want to have that ability to open our hearts. And so once again, when all people, animals, birds, trees, the sun, the moon, the stars, when all of us will open our hearts and connect together, then we end up creating that beautiful symbol. And I speak a lot about symbolism because it's like it's something a child can understand, a picture story. It's not complicated rocket science, okay? So then we become that picture of that eagle that soars freely to our highest dreams. And so in the end, we realize once again that everything, everybody, every experience, every thought, every song, every culture, every spiritual belief are all connected. And that is what we call the universe.
Beautiful.
Universe is simply all circles interconnected together. That's all the universe is. And so when we can be intimate with ourselves, into me I see. When we can look into the darkest areas, the ugliest parts of us, the scariest parts, the most broken parts, when we can go inside there without any fear or any shame, and we can love every part of ourselves, then we can begin to become transparent, and everything we are is going to be open. Okay, we're going to be an open book. We want to be an open book, not a closed, locked book. We want to be an open book, and then when we connect to other people, we inspire them, just like you are inspiring your people with your retreat, to open up and to trust. It
is trust, and it's interesting because there's so many different. What's the right word? So many different platforms out there of spirituality. But if we, listening to you talk, you cover law of attraction. You cover there's so much under, in your beliefs, and it's said in other way, other words like, the law of attraction coach or whatever. But really, it's that open heart. It's that trusting that allows I use the word ease a lot, the ease of life. Because once you do trust and you do allow, life is easier. And it's not necessarily that things don't happen that cause you to pause, but it's your reaction is different and you view things different. It's not not that big of a deal. Like, for example, yesterday, Tony and I were scheduled to talk on the phone briefly. And we had a little plumbing incident in our house. The kitchen was like a fountain. And it's okay to be like, okay, well, this happened, but it's life, right? Instead of thinking, oh my God, I'm late for this phone call. The world is shifting because of it. It's like being okay and look at it for what it really is. It's not that big.
Yes. If we can believe that everything is perfect just the way it is.
Yes.
And it takes a lot of stress off of us. I spent probably 40 years of my life in addiction, as an alcoholic, as a drug addict for 40 years. Okay, I can look at my life and say, you know what, that shouldn't have happened. Why did even right. With the beginning of my spiritual path at 5 years old, being on stage, as a Native American representation with a drum in my hand, my dad standing behind me in an international kids pageant in Monterey, California. I was put into destiny at 5 years old. Okay. Yeah. I had to learn who I was over those 40 years of going through those dark times. And I could really, I could beat myself for that, and I could compare myself to other people. But it was part of my shaping. My medicine was created by going through that jungle, okay? And really, it was a difficult jungle. It was a very hard training for me. So we have, my grandfather was a medicine man. He was a traditional medicine man with the Navajo Nation. You have to be apprenticed. You have to go through rigorous training. You have to learn 400 songs right spot on chants for ceremonies. Otherwise, you're not accepted as one of the medicine people. So there are certain trainings and apprenticeship. But my apprenticeship was in life, and it was also something that made me very strong. And once again, going back to my center, as the Navajo people, as the Dine, the people, they're known as the enduring people. They survived so many things, hardships, and they came out and they created beautiful things with their lives. And I'm the same way. I have that in my blood, the ability to survive very difficult times and to come through the other side. And so this is what I'm teaching with people. I use some of these teachings, many of these teachings with people that are in addiction programs, oncology, cancer survivors, people going through transitions, people going through suicide in their family, loss, grief, and so these teachings that we are sharing can be applicable once again, once we find the gift inside, it can be manifested in many different ways. And also, this gift that we have being manifested can go into all demographics and be applicable to daily life. I don't want spirituality to be abstract, mystical, mysterious, far away, having to jump through hoops. I want spirituality that I share with people, something to be right here, right now, that they're able to experience, that they're able to grasp, that they're able to utilize in their relationships, in their home, in their business, in their health. And so these things that we're teaching are really things that can be very practical.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying, because number one, you know, most of us here, most of us on the planet have gone through some trials and tribulations, right? But they, you know, the beauty in that is it allows us to be compassionate, allows us to see, it brings compassion, it brings awareness and compassion, right? If you don't hold on to it, if you can see it for what it is, right? And don't hold on to it. And the other thing that you're saying, that my interpretation, or how I view, like the retreat that you're going to be the opening person for us. I'm so excited. But I feel like what happens, whether it's in person or not in person, it's the energy that's shared, right? It's your intention of sharing this healing energy. And so even like if people are there and you're doing chanting, but even if they don't necessarily know what the chanting represents, they still receive, if their heart is open, they still receive that energy. They still receive that healing, because that's what it is. It's like you channeling that healing energy. Do you agree with that?
Yes. And because a lot of what I'm sharing are the primal ancient expressions of Native Americans: the voice, the drum, and the flute. Okay, so if you take something as simple as that, and if you create that sound, that melody, it is something very familiar to us, because I am creating that with my breath. All of us have breath, and we express things with our breath. In some ancient texts, the breath is the same word as the soul. The breath of a man, the breath of a woman is the soul of a man, the soul of a woman. So when you hear that song, that is my soul being expressed. People resonate with that. They feel that, because it's my very, the flute is taking my breath away. And my breath is going out there through melodies, through notes, and it's going out into the universe. The birds hear it. The trees feel it. The earth feels it. The heavens feel it. Our ancestors listening. And so when other people hear it, it's something that's very familiar, because every single culture had the voice, the drum, and the flute. Whether it was Native American, African, Asian, Eastern European, all of us had the voice, the drum, and the flute. Celtic, the bodhrán drum, the penny whistle flute, all of us use these instruments. So when we hear the sound, we go, wow, I must have been a Native American in the past life, because we are familiar with that sound. Because our ancestors also used the same instruments. So when we use the voice, the drum, and the flute, it is healing is basically coming back home. That's all healing is. And people feel that. They come back home and they go, oh, this is who I am. Not all this confusion and complication and everything else happening in the world. This is who I really am. That's when that healing moment happens. If you have your mind, your thoughts, your breath, your heartbeat, your body, the cells in your body, everything pulsing together at the same time, and you wake up and go, oh, wow, that's when you are healed.
Absolutely. And you can feel, I always use this as an example. You can be out hiking and you can look at a tree, even like a desert scrub, and look at it and you're like, I mean, it's like seeing God, right? You look at it and you just feel this connection, and it's like you feel so much love. You're receiving so much love. You're aware of so much love, and it's always available to us. But there was something in that moment that allowed you to open up your mind, your heart, allowed you to be in that like truly in that moment and not in the confusion.
Yes. You hear that cliche, everything's a reflection.
Yeah.
Everything's a reflection. What that is saying is basically whatever you see in that moment, whatever appears to you, whatever you look at, whatever you choose, whatever you decide is a reflection of you.
Yeah.
The color of your blouse, okay, orange. That represents, when you pull that out and said, I'm going to wear this, that is that fiery creativity.
Yeah.
Out of your soul, okay? And so these things that we even we make these choices. This is a reflection of me. When I wear this jewelry, this is a reflection of Tony. When I made this necklace, this is a reflection of me. So as Native Americans, we're very familiar with this, because when we dance, when we make regalia, when I do all my beadwork and everything that I make, you know, I'm saying this is who I am. These colors represent me. These symbols represent what my soul is saying, you know. And so when you see a tree and you see all that beauty, you're seeing a mirror of yourself. When you're driving down the highway and a hawk just happens to leave that tree and flies right over your car, in that moment, that hawk is telling you something. Whatever direction it is coming from, whatever direction it is flying to, east, south, west, or north, there is a reason that's saying something to you about your life in that moment, and whatever you're dealing with in that moment. You know, if a coyote trickster comes and you're driving down a dark dirt road at night, and that coyote comes right in front of your car and stands and looks at you, that coyote is telling you to be aware. That person that you're meeting with, or that person you're going to do business with, or that person that you're thinking about dating, they're not as they appear. There's a trick there. Okay, so all of these things, animals, birds, trees, the weather, everything is a reflection of us.
It isn't. I mean, look at, because people sometimes want like the burning bush, right? They want something like that concrete, that whatever. But we literally have like these miracles happening all the time. We literally have like every moment, if we lift ourselves up, if we open up our heart, if we allow ourselves to look outside of our, out, we see guidance, we see miracles, we feel, right? I mean, I think that's, sometimes we're afraid to embrace that. We're afraid to embrace like the miracle of life. We're afraid to embrace, to trust again, that miracle of what we're being offered. And maybe that's it, it's being offered to us, and we just have to say yes.
Yeah, because most things that we see in media, TV, most things are an illusion. And it's when we get down to really, if we had no TV, if we had no radio, if we had no internet, who would we be? Who would we really be? Okay. When I think about what we call God sometimes, and we ask for this, we ask for that, like you're saying, I need a miracle, I need this, that. It's perfectly fine, but if we can come back to the place of saying, okay, if God can be a God of nothing, if I had nothing, then God now can be a God of everything. So we got to kind of reverse there. In modern society, we're thinking about, a God of having everything instead of having nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we have nothing, what we have is our hearts. And this is what's so beautiful about some of our traditions and indigenous people, all of your ancestors, all of my ancestors that lived off the land, that were looking at the trees, that were looking at the birds, that were looking at the miracle of life all around them. They were not captivated and seduced by everything else, you know, in the media and everything else that's going on. They were really looking at one thing at a time. And so it's beautiful when we go back to that simplicity and when we can just stop all time and all space.
Yeah.
Right in that moment, just in that moment. And all it takes in the end, it's not complicated. All it takes in the end is, okay? So if we can bring everything down to one sound, one thought, one emotion, one idea, then everything becomes simple. And those can be triggers. Those one thing, that one heartbeat can become a trigger that sends you right back in here.
I like to use the word trigger as a positive, right? It's a memory. It ignites a memory. So for me personally, I like being outdoors, hiking, being outdoors is like it's a priority in my, like it's a must have in my life. But for people that don't say they live in the inner city, how do you suggest they connect to like Mother Earth? How do you suggest that they connect to, you know, to the wisdom of, you know, the universal energies that come through weather, come through animals, come through plants? How do you help people stay connected with that?
Like this.
Ah, lovely.
The heartbeat I was talking about?
Yeah.
That is like that comforting, loving energy, safety, unconditional love of being in the womb. And you remember that. And when you have just that simple heartbeat, everything else goes away. All the stress, all the worry, all the complications, all the city buses and taxis in Manhattan that you hear outside your window. I've done private sessions for people up there in apartments, and all the sounds and people and noise in the city are coming to the window, and that person's laying on that bed, and I'm using the drum over their body like this. And they are in that zone. So if we can simply use our own drum, and it's good self-awareness too, to take the time to find that pulse inside of you, that life force inside of you. That's how you can really focus on yourself, self-care. Mm-hmm. You don't need a lot of stuff, okay? You just find that heartbeat and you go, wow, that's amazing. And it's pretty relaxed, okay? And I'm gonna let it relax a little bit more. So right now, my heartbeat is right here. That's the speed.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Okay, so that's another exercise that I do in some of my classes, where I have people actually pair up, and I want you to explore, and I want you to find that heartbeat of that person, and it can be challenging. Some people are going like this, they're going all over, you know, and eventually, but it's part of the lesson is block out all the world, everything, your thoughts, what you got to do tomorrow, what's in your appointment book, the meetings you got, block everything out and just focus on finding your loved one's heartbeat. Do this to your puppy dog, do this to your kitty, do this to your partner, do this to your child, and just take time to honor them and honor their life. That can make everything really beautiful when you do this. I did this with the Kardashians on the courage.
Oh, you did? That's funny.
The courage to change. They wanted me to help them with, one of them wanted me to help them with the relationship. And I said, okay. So as part of the ceremony, I said, find his heartbeat and you find her heartbeat. Nice. Now the cameras are going, right?
Yeah.
You know what? They couldn't find each other's heartbeat.
Seriously?
Yeah. Now, that's what I'm saying. If you are in a relationship and you can't find another person's heartbeat, then there is something missing here, okay?
Yeah.
There's something that is pulling your focus and your ability to be intimate with them. Into me, you see. And so I saw right there, I can't really do a whole lot with this relationship.
Yeah.
They knew that. They didn't stay together anyway, okay?
Yeah.
But this is one of the exercises I've done this with drug addiction programs, and the same thing. If they can focus and they can block out all the world, and I've done this in conferences where thousands of people in the room, and I'll pull up a volunteer, and I'll say, sit here. I won't say it mean like that, but I'll say, sit here. So they're gonna sit there, and I'm gonna find their heartbeat, and then I'm going to express it on the drum that they're holding.
I love that.
They're actually going to feel, and they're going to feel their pulse going through my hand and into the drum, and they're going to actually hear the rate of speed, the relaxation, or the anxiety. They're going to hear it in that drum. And once I do that, then I'll be in front of all this audience of people in this conference, and then I will read them. And I'll say, this is what your heart is saying. And you know what?
That's beautiful.
And it's right on every time.
I love that.
So,
well, I also want to touch base that you said something earlier. Oh, when you were talking about the flute and how, your breath through the flute, goes to the trees and beyond. But I think it's also important for people to recognize that, you're not this magical creature, the only magical creature that can put your breath, right, and send it out to the trees, right? Like we all have the ability, like all of our breath is powerful. All of our intentions are powerful, right? And so you've learned how to work with your breath. You've learned, right? You're intentional with your breath. You're intentional with life. But I think it's important for everybody listening that your breath is just as powerful. Your breath is just right. Be intentional, because you like Tony, like all of us, have the ability to reach the trees, reach the stars, reach beyond. I just wanted to bring that up because sometimes people think, that they can't do it.
Yeah. So when I shared music in the hospice for a number of years, and I did a CD called Deep Within. And I did a CD called Release, which was about letting go. And I began the CD simply with And that CD was to honor the life within each of us. We begin life in that way,
yeah,
and also leave this world in that same way. Now, if you go to a yoga class, what are you going to do? Namaste. Okay? You're using your breath.
Mm-hmm.
You're sending out an intention. When you're as perfectly imperfect as we are as human beings, if you go, that is still your breath, and
right.
Sincerely what you're feeling is coming out, not right, wrong, good,
yes.
Bad. It just is what it is. If everything's perfect the way it is, if you go, okay, that is still your breath. It's still an expression of your soul. So we get caught up in thinking, oh, I have to be, this pious spiritual being, and right. I can't say the right thing. I can't curse. I can't express my frustration. I can't get angry. I have to be perfectly pious. No, throw that out the window. Once again, if we are following expectations, which most of us do, then we turn spirituality into a religion.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good, bad. This is the way it's supposed to be. No, not like that. Oh, you're wrong. I'm right. Then we begin to bring in judgment, and we begin to bring in comparisons, and we begin to bring in fear. Fear is the result of all of that. It starts with expectations. It goes to comparisons, judgments, criticism, shame, and then we end up living in fear of judgment, criticism, shame, comparison, not being good enough. So we got to throw the expectations out the window. So just going, is spiritual.
Yes.
It's good. And
it is.
It's who you are.
No, I love that. And I also think it's really important, like what you said, there's no right or wrong, right? And it goes back to that place of neutrality, and which leads us to that idea that you were talking about, where there's like this void where God, if we want to use the word God, is, right? In this void, in this expansiveness of nothing, right? And what leads you to that is not having, it's like there's no right, there's no wrong. There just is this experience, right? You're just open to this experience that allows you to become one with all. But it's like those little, it's like just a few little things to to feel, I guess, and it takes you there.
Yeah, this is a journey.
It is a journey.
And it can be an adventure if we don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. It can be an adventure. It can be fun. It can be colorful. It can be crazy. It can be up and down. It can be like the waves of the sea. It can be unpredictable. But if we will let go, then we can float on those waves. We will not sink. We will float. Okay. But it goes back to this in life, and being willing to go inside, begin to go into me, I will see, and then allowing others to do that. And then we begin to create this community of people that are living in awareness and enlightened and aware and conscious, and not just going through the motions.
Right. And I think that what you just said is really important also, because it's being free to express yourself. If you're really expressing yourself, if you're really creating, you are not going through the motions. You're not just like plodding along, like the farm horse on the plow. You are expressing yourself. You have the freedom, which we do have free will. You have the freedom to express yourself in what feels beautiful to you, what feels healing to you, what feels good to you.
And it will also benefit other people.
Absolutely. That's how you attract your group.
Yeah.
So, I have one other question for you.
Huh?
So one of my beliefs is, if I can call it a belief, is, I believe that, first I'll say, like, one of the things that if I get hung up on something, I get hung up on, like how we could go down the rabbit hole. I get hung up on the way animals are treated. Like that's going to be one of my things that is just, I put them on the same, I respect them, their life as much as it's our life, my life, right? And so that's just one of my things that if I go down the rabbit hole, that's the piece, that's the thing. And so, but I also am aware that I have the ability in this very moment to be in a place to put my awareness in a place of peace, of compassion, of all that is. Like I have my ability, I have a choice to allow myself to be in this place of kind of what we were talking about earlier, this neutrality, this void, this peace. I can be there, or I can be back here and join this conversation with you, right? I have the choice to put where I put my awareness. How does that fit into the way you look at things? If that makes sense, what I was saying.
When I raised the wolf dog, I realized that this person was a thinking person. It's not just a pet. Actually, that I became part of that pact. And when I began to watch that wolf dog named Sajan, which means beloved, and my white shepherd, who helped raise them, there was a big difference between a domesticated dog and a dog that was wild and had instincts. And one day, I decided I was living in Phoenix and I had a swimming pool in the backyard. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go for a swim and I'm going to put the two dogs, you know, the wolf dog and the white shepherd, they're going to be up on the deck there. And I'm curious to see what they're going to do here. So I put my hair in a ponytail, jumped into the pool, and I pretended like I was drowning, splashing water. Help me, help me, help me, help me. The white shepherd just looked at me. He didn't want to get wet, just looked at me, yeah. The wolf immediately jumped in the water without being trained, grabbed my ponytail in his teeth, and swam me to the steps. I did not train him to do that.
Yeah.
I did it again. I said, that was pretty unbelievable. So I said, help me, help me, help me. Once again, the white shepherd just looked at me. The wolf jumped into the water, grabbed my ponytail in his teeth, and swam me to the steps. Animals, nature, the rocks are all people.
Yeah.
We're connected to them. They have souls, okay? They have this innate loyalty, this love. They welcome us, you know, as when we come into their area, you know, they appear. They call our name, you know, however they want to do it, they call our name, you know, or, you know, they'll call our name whenever we come into their forest. And so when you talk about animals and birds and nature, it is part of us. It is a part of our pack. Another thing that I noticed which was very unusual, was I found the sparrow in Phoenix, and it was flapping across the street. I thought it was a piece of paper. I was driving down the highway, I looked at it, thought it was a piece of paper. It was a sparrow that fell out of a nest, out of a window, and it was going across the street, flapping, you know, with one wing. So I turned around really quick, and it made a U-turn and picked it up. And I took that sparrow home, and I put it in a cage by itself. I called them sprouts. And I had finches next to him, society finches, zebra finches next to him. Then I had a cockatiel, and I had budgies in the other cages. But this sparrow had his own cage. And I fed him every day, and I kept him for 2 years. I raised him 2 years. He was next to the finches, so he thought he was another finch, but he had a big head, you know. And so I kept feeding him every day. One day, that wolf dog came running in the back door into the kitchen door, and he came and he found something outside, and he dropped it right in front of Sprout's cage, not in front of the budgie's cage, not in front of the cockatiels, not in front of the zebra finches. He dropped something right in front of Sprout's cage, the sparrow. What he had found outside was a dead sparrow.
Oh, interesting.
Now, that is a thinking person.
Right.
Watching me.
So interesting.
Witnessing me nourishing, raising this sparrow, providing for it, and saying, okay, he found a dead sparrow matching this one outside. He thought, oh, this is where sparrows go to get healed. Now, that is a person that is thinking, okay? And so when we think about, once again, going back to nature, going back to the primal, going back to the ancient, going back to the simple, that's what life is really about.
Yeah. But it takes, you know, because if we look at not just our society, but many societies, you know, we have created a hierarchy, so to speak. And so it takes for somebody to pause and say, that tree is as meaningful as I am. It takes a lot, because if we look at how we move through life and how, you know, things are, you know, sometimes thought of disposable, it takes a lot to stop and say, that means as much as I do. That life means as much as I do. Because if you do that, you stop and you're like, how have I been living my life? it's at that point, you know, that there is a reckoning. There has to be a point of forgiveness. There has to be a type of healing, but not just for yourself. That is when you have that healing, you know, that universal healing, right? Because you connect, you understand, you know.
Yes, personal balance. However we get there. Once
right.
again, the center of the circle is that place of personal balance, which we are trying to find, whether it's through yoga, Pilates, you know, different certain spiritual beliefs, meditation, whatever we're doing. We're trying to stay in the center of this circle. Our circle is a combination. If you think about the circle of life, there are different ways that we can look at it as a reference point. But this is our mind, our physical body, our soul, and our prayers, and our relationships. So these four facets, if we have these healed and make peace with them and communicate with them and care for them, then we have this beautiful balance that allows our circle to go around smoothly, okay? It's not a square, it's not a triangle, it's not an oblong, it's a circle. But there are four aspects that we want to be able to develop, we want to be able to nourish, we want to be able to heal, we want to be able to make peace with these. And so this creates this balance. And then we live in the center of our circle, okay? Now, when we have that personal balance, that's when we start connecting with other circles of life. And when we connect with all circles of life, animals, birds, trees, the mountains, the sun, the moon, the stars, the fire, the water, the rocks, all of life, then we create harmony. So how vital it is for each of us to find this center, because when we connect to other circles of life, we will create harmony instead of disaster, instead of destruction, instead of poisoning the waters, instead of pouring poisons into the earth, instead of overbuilding, instead of suffocating Mother Earth, we will begin to look at things in a balanced way.
And with respect, I mean, it boils down to respect, right? It boils down to respect. That it goes back to like namaste, right? It boils down to respect. You see the light in all.
Yes.
So, well, Tony, we have covered a lot in a short amount of time, which I am very appreciative of. But I just wanted to share with people. So I'm holding a retreat October 22nd through the 25th, and Tony is he's doing the opening healing ceremony. Opening ceremony. It's not just a healing ceremony. This is an opening ceremony that really is going to set the tone for people to have open hearts and to get the most out of the retreat possible, right? Because it's not like you have to wait till Saturday until you feel comfortable. There will be a shift during that opening ceremony that really allows that connection, like what Tony was saying about the community, really allows that connection to our collective community of that group, of that retreat. And who knows, maybe we'll do more retreats together, because I would love to explore that. But in the meantime, we do have this retreat coming up October 22nd to the 25th at CIVANA, and that's on my website. And Tony, share with us more of how they can get hold of you and learn more about what you offer.
Okay, if you look at TonyRedhouse.net, that is my official webpage, and my biography, my services, my whole life stories on there. My musical CDs are on there. They're downloadable. I think there's 4 of them on there. And so that's a good way to reach me. Also, I'm on Facebook, and I'm very active on there. I post a lot of things on Facebook. It's my personal page, but I have like almost 5,000 people on it. So that's very busy. But you can find out a lot of what's currently going on with me on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. But yeah, definitely, if you look at my webpage, TonyRedhouse.net, that's where you're going to find most of the information as far as background. If you have any inquiries, if you want to contact me, you can contact me in that way.
Awesome. And if you, he just gave you his whole list of contacts, but if for some reason you can't get hold of him, you can contact me and I will help you. But we would love to have you take part in the October retreat. And Tony, I just really I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to see, I'm just excited to see what unfolds, right? To see what this experience is. I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing moment in history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will. I'm real. And I was just it's going to be at CIVANA. I was just there this weekend, and I have to say, like, the grounds felt really good, which means a lot to me. Like, that you can go there and just experience, and you don't feel like you're bombarded by a bunch of stuff. There was a lot of, it felt, I guess, a lot of freedom there. Like, it was expansive, so that you didn't feel like there was a lot of distractions, is the way I would put it. So I really appreciated that. It was just openness so that you could just explore, how you felt and what your experience is. And I really appreciated that. So.
Yes, I've had good experiences with them and the staff there. And I've done the grand opening for them, and I blessed the grounds.
Oh, no wonder.
When they decided to reopen, and when they opened up the new spa, I blessed that also.
Okay.
So yeah, they've done a lot of work there. So
nice it was good. Yeah. Okay, well, Tony, thank you so much. I'm going to pause the recording.